Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the stream. By everybody, I mean me. Thank you, GameBolt, for the host. I do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. They're my partners, stream partners. I highly suggest you go check them out at GameBolt.com. Let me check 1 second. TheGameBolt.com. They're a fantastic gaming website. They're very professional, very nice people, all that jazz. So let's get the stream up here. Bam. It's in chat. It's gonna hopefully show up here on the screen. I'll do it again so that it can show up on the screen chat, so people who are watching on YouTube can see the little button down there. You should go click on it. Say hi to them. They're nice. Webcam. There we go. Cool. So we're playing the beginner's guide today. This is a game by the guy who did Stanley Parable. Let me make sure I know his name, because I don't, because I'm an idiot. Didn't have that prepared ahead of time, but it is Davey Wreden. Davey Wreden? Anyway, super cool dude. I loved Stanley Parable. I don't know how the audio levels are going to sound. They sound a little bit loud, but usually that means it's pretty okay. I have closed captioning turned on so that if I'm talking while there's something going on, I'm going to try not to talk too much when there's stuff going on, but if there is, you guys can still hear what's going on in the background. And we're just going to play this. I'm really, really excited. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I've heard really good things, so let's just jump right in. But yeah, like Stanley Parable, I'm pretty sure you just kind of walk around. Make sure audio is on. Thank you. Sometimes I need that reminder. You just walk around, you explore, you look at things. And I'm playing Soma right now, so it's very, very similar. You just walk around, look at things. But I think that mechanic in itself can be, a vessel for a lot of really cool stuff.
Thank you very much for playing the beginner's guide.
There we go.
My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Okay, cool.
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Alright, cool. So I really like the premise of this already. It's us kind of taking a look into this person's personality and life via just the games that he made on his spare time but never released. So we're gonna look through all the games that he created and see how he progressed as a human.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift destruction imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
The first game he made? Got it. So we have like this gun, shoots like little pixels out. It actually, I mean, I'm sure that it's been retouched a little bit. Maybe. I actually have no idea if it was retouched. Oh, I'm out of ammo.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm out of bullets.
But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin shoot evacuation.
Okay, so yeah, we have a gun that doesn't reload. We can't shoot anything. Some really cool
I love
space
how you
textures.
can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
It's pretty sweet that you can see the bottom of the universe. Bam. It's a huge texture, though. It's like really enormous. It'd be very hard to tell that it was like looped around. Oh, those are nice sounds too. Music's pretty sweet.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Whoa. Alright.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Okay. Is this the whisper machine?
You there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Well, I guess we don't really have a choice, do we? Can we go back? No? I guess we're just jumping in.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
So we just kind of like relive this moment? Do we just have to keep dying? Oh, we can't die. Oh. This is pretty sweet. I actually kind of really like this.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
This box is huge. The area that this game takes place in is enormous. So this is his first game after that one.
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
The past was behind her. Huh. Alright. Oh dear.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Why does the future keeps changing? Or why does the future keep changing? I like it. It's really cool, and also the music is incredibly ambient and nice, and does good work for it. When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer. The future, but if the future is always behind, or it's always behind her, how will she find the strength to confront it?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
That's pretty
sweet. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
There isn't a whole lot I can talk about because the developer is in fact talking a lot about what's interesting about it. But that was an interesting message, and I like that the gameplay conveyed exactly what the message was supposed to be. And it didn't do anything more. Sorry, I just kept thinking I had to walk upside down. I can only walk on this straight path. And I can't see beyond this certain area. But beyond me. You're entering now. You're now entering.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Okay. Deal. Keep with it. Keep that one in mind.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Do I enjoy the game? So far, yes.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these
what's
games.
up, Universum RPG?
He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Look how, like, it's cool that you can create such a sense of scale with, like, just your camera. Like, these 3 blocks and the stairs. Like, if the stairs weren't here, it would be so much different, and you would have a hard time, like, determining scale for yourself, but, like, now that they're there, you can kind of see. Also, welcome to the stream, Universum RPG. Sorry I didn't say that a second ago. Oh, we're progressively getting slower up these stairs.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Okay, so we hit enter. We're allowed to move at full speed. We're gonna see what's beyond this door, and beyond the door is, it's like a beautiful, like, modernist house. Stand on X, and then X staring at a bear for 3 hours. What?
A room
Construct
that's
a wall.
warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Sharks are trying to eat you simultaneously. You are trying to eat the sharks. Read enemies' emails to learn how to
Coda would
beat
often
them.
tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Oh man, that's pretty sweet. I like that, and it's cool that I don't know if Coda's a real person, but I assume that Coda's a real person because it. Oh, I didn't get to read all of them. Coda's a real person because he wouldn't have made the thing otherwise. And I think that, yeah, the way that it was like produced or in turn released kind of gives that idea that maybe that definitely Coda's a real person. He's kind of doing this for a friend, and that's an interesting thought. That, like, he's just making these things for himself, and they're kind of good ways to get his creative, I don't know, creative thoughts out. Not necessarily for somebody else, but for himself, which is super interesting. Some heavy stuff. It's definitely not Stanley Parable, and I mean,
Well,
they announced that at the
this is new
beginning.
for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Okay, actual puzzle.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
It's a good puzzle. I like it. It's interesting to think about like games in their meta version as opposed to like in a narrative, just thinking about the game and how it works and taking like the mechanics to it. And maybe not necessarily like bug checking things, but taking the bugs and making them gameplay elements, or not even bugs, but just things that work out differently than you would expect.
You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again, so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Holy crap! Are these all just like various versions of the same puzzles that he did? That's
How
incredible.
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Okay, so we're back at this puzzle again. So, our role is not to understand. You are exiting now. You're now exiting.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Cool. I'm excited to see this stuff. It's an interesting idea, being able to look at someone's work and kind of tell who they are from just that. Oh my goodness. I wonder if the narrator's going to drop out at some points and just kind of let us try to figure it out for ourselves, or if he's going to kind of give us an explanation as we go along.
Let's talk
I don't
about
know.
video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Okay, so the Streetwise Fool. We're basically at a cafe.
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things.
Wait, what is this? Oh, I'm so sorry about that, man. Sorry about everybody watching. Oh, my bad. Nerdbot just saw that you typed in a link, and it's not a huge fan of links. But I know that you're just trying to give me more info.
The tools available to the creator
check out his link.
shape what kinds of
Stanley
creative
Parable.
work they're going to end up making.
Yeah, I will definitely
You might
watch it
consider
out.
paying
Watch
attention
that.
to the architecture
Thank
of
you.
Coda's games.
That's
to
awesome.
Notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Cool. Sorry about that, guys. I did really just want to make sure that Universum RPG didn't get like timed out. But yeah, I will go check it out. Thank you so much. That would be super interesting. And I really like the Stanley Parable, and I'm very much enjoying this right now. And I think it's an interesting thought. And I'm someone who's interested in game development in some form. I don't know what I would want to do, but it's an interesting idea, and just thinking about how the creative process works. So it'll be cool to look at. So let's go down into the stairs and see what else there is. And I like this idea of like something, and well, we're not there yet, something very set in reality with like geometric shapes that are all textured to look like something, and then something very obviously not set in reality, and you're given just like colors and shapes. This is really cool, and it's a very great like juxtaposition. Hey, username, welcome to the stream, man. Can I post the link of this live stream of the creator? Yeah, let me again, let me just pause it real fast because I wanna be able to do that. So make sure I spelled that right. Should be fine. If it bans you again, I don't know who that was and why they got banned, though. Oh, okay. It's just about making money. I don't care. Alright. Sweet, we got like a little platform. Oh, we're too far. We jumped too far. Oh, we've goofed. Wait a second. It's very similar. I love the like geometrical like platforming stuff. But yeah. This game is so worth not eating a few meals. I'm excited. That's pretty sweet. I like this whole thing. I like that I could have probably jumped down all the way and like jumped down on the platforms, but either way it doesn't really matter. It's very cool. And then we're back to something very recognizable with textures and stuff. It's cool that it transfers back and forth. Something opened or closed. This reminds me a lot, like this specific sequence reminds me a lot of like The Matrix. Oh man, these like cells, just because of the repeated architecture and stuff. I'm ready, man. I'm excited to experience whatever this game has me wanting to experience, and whatever this set of games wants me to experience. Yeah, I will for sure. I would love to check it out. I probably will check it out after the stream.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
A full hour?
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere.
That's awesome. Welcome, Miss Emily. Welcome to the stream. That's an interesting idea, and whether or not a game has to be playable. Because, I mean, it really comes down to the definition of what you call a game, but like having some form of interactivity, or what it needs to be, or if it's conveying the message it wants to convey, it's a really hard discussion to have. And it comes up a lot in, like, there's the 3 dots again. It comes up a lot in modern games of whether or not, like games like this, where you're just kind of walking around and getting fed a story, whether or not that is considered a game, like walking simulators.
Again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
And, I don't know, that's a hard one, man. It's very difficult.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
But it is interesting. And it's cool. And I like the idea of it being like a game doesn't necessarily have to be something that, you know, it can be whatever the creator wants it to be as long as it conveys the message they want it to convey. And I guess in some form is delivered through a medium that is considered a game medium. Like, it could be a card game if you wanted it to. But, like, I don't know. It's super cool. You there, did you come up from above?
Coda begins
what was up
using
there?
a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
You come above, what was up there? There was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there were floating colorful blocks. That's the world above. You've been there. Yeah. Now that's important. Did you have to get through the puzzle with 2 doors and switches? I remember having a... one. That was literally the last thing I did before we coming here. Alright, perfect. Now tell us how you solved it. Tell us the solution. Tell us how to get to the other side. I didn't solve it. Someone else let me in. Trust me, you want to go over there. I don't remember how I just solved it. I'm just trying to remember, but I can't. I didn't solve it. Someone else let me in. Trust me, you don't want to go over there. I don't remember, but I can't. You must think harder. Try harder, please. This is so important that we get out of here. We must escape this prison. Can you think harder? There must be something more. Please tell us how to reach the end. Hey, Geo, thanks for the host, man. I do appreciate it. Welcome everybody from Geo's chat, if there's anybody there. But welcome. Oh man. All right, what's up? Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? Yes. Do you want to know how to solve it? No. Actually, find the black space between the doors to be far more interesting. Have you seen it yet? Now that you mentioned it, I remember feeling strange as I passed through it. Huh. Hey man, hearts to you. I saw you were playing Undertale. That game looks really good. I played it back when it was in like beta. Oh, I just missed that dialogue. Don't think about it. Okay, so next time we get to go through the door, make sure we inspect the black space. We didn't really get a chance to do so.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Okay. Hey, thanks for the host username. I do appreciate it. You're all lovely people. It's amazing so far. That's awesome. I really want to play it at some point. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but I have to wait because I'm kind of broke.
Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long.
Well, even if it is short, I hope you're enjoying it.
He wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
It's an interesting way to think about developing games. And like, when you hear the advice given to people who are making video games, it's typically like, just do it, like complete a game, go through with it, even if you don't really know what you're doing, and just finish it, which is what is exactly what he's doing. You're walking around, you can leave notes. This game's connected to the internet. Okay. All the notes you're are left by other players. Cool. Got notes. Nice room. Not. Damn. I don't know how to leave notes.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it, and very patient with me.
That's
and
awesome.
I cooled off eventually.
All the geometry looks amazing, by the way. Like, all the geometry is super cool to look at. Like, if you just think about, like, this, like, as a thing to look at, it looks so interesting, and you kind of want to just, like, look at everything. And there's, like, a huge, again, like, this juxtaposition between, like this really distant change between this, like, very inorganic surface and side to this very organic surface and side is really cool. Whoa, holy shit. Can you hear me? You guys hear me? But yeah, I don't know, like...
Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like, these are all thoughts coming from this person who made it.
But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Wow. Some crazy shit, man. Like, just the ideas that are kind of being, balls. The ideas that are kind of being introduced here. And, I don't know. I don't know, as somebody who's, like, wanted to create things, slash, like, has created things but not necessarily, like, done anything with it, or, like gone after that, it's just interesting to see how people react, or not how people react, but, like, how people who make the games, just specifically Coda in this instance, feels about, like, I don't know, showing people things, and how it's more of, like, a personal thing. Sailors are looking for the acorn. I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. Just looking for someone to talk with. It's very beautiful, though. You refuse to believe. A butt's a butt. Alright, sweet. But I don't know. It introduces some thoughts into my brain about, like, well, for me, it was about doing music, right? Like, I played a lot of music when I was younger, but I was always too nervous or afraid to, like, ever play music for other people and kind of, like, practice it or try to practice it, because it kind of feels like you're putting all your eggs into one basket, right? Where you're like, I'm gonna practice music, but if I'm not good at it, or if I don't feel like I'm good at it, then, you know, that insecurity is gonna kind of, like, wear me down, and I'm not gonna want to play music anymore, kind of thing. I don't know, it's just weird, the different feelings that people get. Yeah, I imagine. I'm excited to go. I didn't watch anybody else play it, because I really wanted to play it for myself, but I'm gonna go back and watch other people play it after I'm done, just to see what they think about it. I really want my friend Silas to play this. I think he would love it. Like, this is perfect for him, I do believe. But, like, I don't know. It's interesting, and I think anybody who's tried to create stuff understands a lot of what is going on in terms of just a general feel. A game where you leave notes and suddenly everyone's a poet. This is where I get off. I failed to write anything here. It's crazy that all these are, like, the one guy. Can't make this jump.